Now this is the Fine Surface Primer by Tamiya. Now this stuff is a bit different to the primers we've looked at recently. So therefore, what sort of results can you get? What's the pros, what's the cons, what do you need to be aware of? And therefore you can make the decision if it's the sort of primer that you need for your project. Well, let's go find out. So today I'm going to use part of this fort from the KillTeam Octarius Box set. Now this is a bigger piece of terrain to make it easier to see, but the same principles will apply for whatever model you're doing, whether it is a scale model aircraft or a 32mm Mini. Now if you are priming a smaller model or lots of smaller models like tabletop minis for example, then it can be worth getting a piece of wood or similar and attach them to it so that if you can hold the bit of wood rather than the Mini itself and getting your hands covered in primer, which can be annoying. Alternatively, you can use gloves. Now we're all trying to reduce waste plastic, so you can take these off, let the paint dry and later on reuse them. So a box like this will last you for a long time. Now I like these ones and I'll put a link for these down in the description. Okay, so today we're using the Fine Surface Primer from Tamiya. Now with all spray cans like this, whilst the paint itself may be acrylic, it's really the propellant inside it which can be quite nasty. But also a second thing with a spray can like this, it can be quite affected by temperature and humidity. So if it is particularly humid or particularly dry or overly hot or overly cold, then it can significantly affect the outcome of the result you're getting. Have you finished? Anyway, let's continue. So often what people do is they will prime these in a garage, for example, or outside, somewhere there's plenty of ventilation. Now this primer is not overly stinky, but you still don't want to breathe it in. One of the challenges of using a spray can like this outside is that in even the lightest breeze, then it can take the paint away. It kind of blows it away. However, if you find somewhere sheltered, it can still be a good option. Now this one I'm going to spray inside, but I'm going to open all the doors and windows, but I'm also going to put on a P3 mask. Now if you're not sure what mask to use when you're modelling or what to look for when you're buying one, then if you would like me to do another video on that, then please let me know down in the comments. Now with any rattle can, you want to give it a really good shake, really mix it all up. Now when you're priming a model with a rattle can, the same principles apply than when you're using an airbrush. So you want to make sure that you start the paint going before you hit the model, keep it moving across the model and then turn the paint off again once you're off the model. Doing it in nice thin coats. If you stop and spray in one place, or you have it too close, or if you start and stop the paint whilst you're still spraying on the models, then you can get a big kind of gloopy bits or runs or too kind of thick coat, which will not give you a nice result. Now one thing to be aware of is that the little nozzle in here can get blocked by paint. Now one way you can prevent this is by turning the can upside down, make sure it's facing away from you, and just give it a good squirt for a couple of seconds, which will just eject pure propellant and no paint, and that will help to clear out the nozzle and stop it getting blocked for next time. Now one big difference between a spray can and an airbrush is that the airbrush has a much smaller spray pattern. Now whilst this can cover larger areas a lot quicker than an airbrush, it does mean that the area you're painting behind and your hands and whatever is in the way is going to get painted as well as the model. Therefore, if you are either spraying inside or even if you're outside and there's a surface you don't want to get paint on, make sure the surrounding area is protected. And also when you're priming, make sure you turn the model around and spray from all different angles to get a nice even coat over the entire thing and in all that little fine detail. So when it comes to the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, what sort of result are you going to get? Now this stuff is really nice and easy to use, and with a little bit of practice you can get a really nice and even coat. It is not quite as satin as the Vallejo Mecha primer, for example, but it's more satin and not quite as matte as the AK Interactive primer and Microfiller. And if you haven't seen those reviews, then you might want to check that out later on. And price-wise, per can, it's not too bad either. And if you want to check out the most up-to-date prices, then I've put some links down in the description, as well as the links with the review on flyingravenstudios.com, which is where you'll find everything I've reviewed all in one place. So we've now looked at a number of very, very different primers. So if you would like to learn more about priming to get the best result for you and your project, then you might want to look at this video right here. If you like that, found that useful, please bash that like button and share it across your social media. And I'll see you for the next project.